Local Radio Day.
Well, Digital Radio UK, fully supports Local Radio Day. It's a wonderful initiative. I absolutely applaud what UKRD and other groups have done. To get over 100 local stations all coming together to celebrate local radio is a phenomenal achievement, and I think it's very worthwhile, because I think now and again it's important to shine a light on how important local radio is in the UK. In fact, it's an essential part of radio in the UK. We often talk about new national stations and national station growth, and that's wonderful, and that's going to continue. But that will never take the place of great local radio that serves communities, that's rooted in communities, and makes such a difference to people's lives. So yeah, we're 100% behind the initiative for Local Radio Day. I think what is true to say, we've probably been arguing about this for the last 10 years, maybe longer, as an industry, but UK radio definitely has a digital future, and that's all parts of the radio landscape, national and local radio. So local radio will over time become more and more digital. Obviously everyone's online, quite rightly so, and we see online radio listening growth, but many parts of local radio are also on DAB. And we expect that to expand. So over time, we would expect probably the majority of local listening to be digital. I think the great thing about radio today is that it remains relevant and robust in a hugely competitive digital age. It would have been very easy for radio to go the way of local newspapers and indeed national newspapers. But radio remains alive and kicking and looking to the future. And I think part of that has been the digital transformation. At one level, what it's done is bring much more choice. And I think that's really important for listeners. I think the other thing it's done is allowed people to listen to radio services in different situations, on the move, in the car, on digital devices, and I think that's also been very transformative for radio. So I think the digital journey, which maybe has been controversial along the way, I think clearly has been good for radio, and that's clearly where we're heading. I absolutely welcome the fact that the BBC is now on board with Local Radio Day. Obviously, BBC has a whole gamut of fantastic local stations, and it's right and proper that they should join with UKRD and the rest of the local commercial radio groups to celebrate their achievement and their services, and to show their solidarity. So I do think that's an increasing feature that we see in radio, whereby public service, commercial radio coming together, and I think this is a really good initiative, and it's great that BBC is supporting it. One of the things that we see, you ask us about the future of local radio, and I do think local radio will increasingly be digital. We're already seeing that with people broadcasting online, but obviously more and more people broadcasting on DAB. But historically, not all local stations have had a path to DAB, and certainly haven't had an affordable path to DAB. And that's why we really welcome the small-scale DAB initiative, which, as you know, is running in 10 areas at the moment. And what it's done is bring 150 new local commercial and community stations on air in those 10 areas. And yes, some of them belong to bigger radio groups, but some of them are new startups, new voices, new services, people probably developing the station in their bedroom, and the way radio probably got its start. And I think that's really healthy, and we see some really interesting and exciting ideas coming through from these new small-scale DAB stations. And the good news for local radio is that that's only going to increase. The bill has already been passed into law, and in the next probably 18 months, we think we'll see many hundreds more local stations launching on DAB because of small-scale DAB, and I think that's something to be welcomed. One of the things I would say is that now that we're over 50% of digital listening, we think that's a really important milestone for the radio industry in the UK. I think what it has done is help the radio industry get future fit to compete with all of these online music streaming services, and we'll see many more of those. So the fact that 50% of people have now chosen to listen to radio online, on DAB, on digital television, on digital platforms is a real sign of progress. And whilst there's still a long way to go, I think that digital journey, that digital progress will only continue and accelerate. And I think local radio is very much part of UK radio's digital future.
Local Radio Day.